All right, guys, welcome to episode 24 of the Different Animals podcast. It's your boy Tyler.
And I'm Ever Castro.
And today we are going to be talking about songs that either ruin or dampen an amazing album. We're going to talk about what we've been playing, what we've been watching. We're going to talk about our opinions on some voice acting. And also, a certain criminal has struck again. But first, all right. So let's start with songs that ruin or dampen an otherwise amazing album.
Yes.
Okay. So, you start.
Yeah.
You open.
Yeah. So my thinking of this, it's like an album that it was a little bit harder than I thought because for me, like it's an album that I have to know frontwards and backwards, or like at least pretty well, so that then whenever I listen to the song, I just always go like, okay, let's just hit the next, like. Right, like I don't,
Yep.
I don't listen to it, or like even if I do listen to it, I'm like, well, that was, it's kind of like, well, this is when I go use the bathroom, like if you're watching a TV show, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
right, and so, so that was my criteria for this one. So I can start, yeah.
So for me, when I was going through it,
Mm-hmm.
I have two. All right. So here's one of my problems: is that when I feel like I flip on either end of the spectrum, which is that like it seems like a lot of albums I looked at and remember fondly,
Mm-hmm.
but had like 3 or 4 tracks that I was like skip, or it was like certain albums. Like I remember looking at the track list for like Good Kid, Mad City, and I can't remember the name of it now, but I remember thinking there was one that I was like, I could take or leave. But the thing is it didn't like damper the album for me at all. Like the album was so good that it was just like a lull. And like that was the same way. I'm trying to think of another song that I like, another album I was thinking of. But like there were a couple where I like thought of the album and was like, it's like a low, it's like a lull, but it's not. It doesn't like do anything. Like in my head, the album isn't worse for it.
Right.
So there are, on the other hand, like I found 2 that kind of did that for me, and then my last one. I'm actually not super crazy about the album, but the album has some is so good at the beginning, and then there's a couple of iffy songs, but like overall I still view the album well. And then there was a song I was so excited for, and just fucking played it, and I was like, what the fuck happened? And like immediately the rest of the album I was like, I can't believe that song turned out so poorly. Like every time I think of that album I'm like, why did that song go so bad? But we'll get to that. And the other thing I wanted to say is like, do you think a bad song can like ruin an album anymore? I feel like with how easy it is to just skip like whatever you want, or like make a playlist on Spotify and you just leave that song out.
Yeah. I see. I think so. Like you're saying, it's like albums that you like, and I think for me to know an album really well enough to be like, this song sucks, but the rest are awesome. I have to really like the album to have put time into it to like get to know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I think I mentioned on here before how like I'm not very good at like being like, wow, I love this album on the first listen, because I need it to like pop up on shuffle. I need people to like talk about it. I need to like sort of grow over time. So I never. The closest is maybe like a month out. I'll be like, wow, this album was amazing. It always takes a long time for me. So I agree with you completely, where it's like none of these are like, wow, this album sucks for it. It's more just like, wow, that's kind of a lull. Like they could have easily cut that out. Or, an example that I think I used last week, or that we talked about when we were discussing the topic off air, was, they could have easily replaced it with another one that came out for free around the same time.
Right.
But if you want, I can get started.
All right.
You can get it.
What's your first one?
So I have 3. And
Okay.
one of them is like, God, this song fucking sucks, man. Like, this is terrible. One, it's like, this
Hmm.
song's pretty bad. And then one's like, this song's, people like it. I don't, I skip it every time.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump around. I'm not going to go in a specific, in an order, but I will go with my first one, which is one that's like, wow, this song isn't very good. And that's Barry Bonds from Graduation.
Right. So this is
Uh,
not your wow. This song fucking sucks,
no,
right?
this is my, this song
Okay.
is like, ugh, especially for an album that doesn't have many, um, uh songs. It's only, I think, only like 11 or 12, but yeah, it's Barry Bonds from Graduation by Kanye West featuring Lil Wayne.
Hmm.
And I mean, like, dude, like, so it's also like a disappointment from the expectation from it. This is
Right.
2007 Kanye West, right? This is
Hmm.
2007 Lil Wayne. This is like dedication, the drought Lil Wayne, right? And
Hmm.
they come out with this song about, here's another hit, Barry Bonds. And it's
Yeah.
just, ugh.
I Lil Wayne's terrible in that song. Kanye is serviceable.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne is awful. Like you could put another person on that song, and if they had a great verse, you'd be like, that song's all right. Like Kanye's part isn't so terrible, and like the rest of the song isn't so irredeemable that like eh, there's nothing that could have saved it. But Lil Wayne comes and just drops a steaming hot pile of dog shit for a verse, dude. It's awful. And he does his little, doesn't he do his like fucking awful little like voice? I know it sounds stupid, but it's like little like the name's Lil Wayne. Like you like my Lil Wayne impression? I sound like a fucking asshole, bro. But like I think Lil Wayne phones.
We out of here, baby.
Yeah, it's no fucking good, bro. His verse is terrible.
Yeah, and it sucks because I do think this album is a classic, but I think unlike his other three classics, I think this is one where there has some songs that are like egregiously like, what is this doing on here? And this is probably
This
tied with
Drunken Hot Girls.
Drunken Hot Girls. Yeah.
Yes, I was gonna put that on mine, but I decided against it. But yes, I'm so happy that's the one you went with.
Yeah.
God, fuck that song.
Yeah,
That song
dude.
is also terrible. You know what the problem with Drunken Hot Girls is? It'd be perfect if it was just an interlude, but that shit goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so long?
Yeah, give me like a little like minute long like Rihanna type like drunk, like, maybe like a cappella, maybe
Right.
sort of being like it's a party, but then it just goes on and on.
It's like, Jesus, does the song ever end? Bro, the opposite of the last topic we had where like songs we wish were longer.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
shit needs to be cut down to like 30 seconds, bro.
But yeah, so that's my first one, Barry Bonds from Graduation. It could have easily been Drunken Hot Girls. It's just here's another hit, Barry Bonds, and I was like, okay, like, I guess, all right.
Okay, so my next one, let's see, which one do I want to go with? So I'm gonna stick with this one. I just don't like, and I don't know if it's because I'm predisposed to like, not predisposed. That's not the right word. I generally like very fast paced and aggressive shit, and this album is full of nothing but very fast paced and aggressive shit. And then all of a sudden, you get this joint. So it's New Day on Watch the Throne, and like it's just so slow, and like
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't fit where it's at on the album to me. Like it just, I feel like they had this song and they decided they wanted it, but like if you're telling me that goes between like it goes, Lift Off is iffy, but it's the very beginning of the album. Like it's the second track on the album, so like it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got um Them in Paris, which goes so fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
Otis,
Classic.
which goes so hard. Gotta Have It, which I like. Then New Day, which is like just like this kind of like soul slowful like thing. To That's My Bitch, but like it's such a like random dip. Like where did
Yeah.
And then Welcome to the Jungle, Who Gonna Stop Me? Like it's like all this aggressive shit, and then randomly it's just like, nah, here's New Day, like right in the middle, and I'm like, what? This should have gone on the end with like the deluxe, like where it's like Why I Love You, and like like near the end of the album.
Yeah. No, yeah, I
Like,
can see that.
I don't know why it's stuck right here in the middle. And every time I get to it, I'm like, skip, dude. I don't want to hear this right now.
It's definitely my bottom half of the songs that from that album for me. Like it's in the bottom half, but I do love the line. He's like, I might even make him be Republican, so everybody know he love white people.
Yeah, except now.
Except now, it's
except now that he died in a tragic hand gliding accident. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, I loved that line when it came out. Now I'm like,
now it's become eerily prescient. He was talking about himself the whole time.
The prophecy. Yeah. Whew. All right. But yeah, so that's mine. And that's one that I don't think is terrible.
No.
I don't think that's a terrible song, but like it doesn't fit well on the album, and like every time I'm hearing it, it's just like I just skip it instantly, and like I have no remorse or regret about like skipping that song.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
what's your next one?
Yeah, so my next one is actually the one that I fucking hate, and I know for a fact that my opinion is shared by a lot of people who love this album. So mine is "Light Is Coming" featuring Nicki Minaj from the album "Sweetener" by Ariana Grande. So for a little bit of backstory to it, Sweetener came out in 2018, and I think it's her third or fourth album, but it's also a very distinct sound change for her. It goes from being sort of techno pop to this sort of how can I say? It's produced by Pharrell. The majority of it is produced by Pharrell. Right. So if you know Pharrell's sound, you know what it sounds like, and you know sort of what to expect. It's like a lot of clanking. You know what I'm saying? Like clips.
Yo, right? This is unrelated. Someone pointed out to me, I saw in a video where they were talking about Pharrell opening songs, and like they're like all of Pharrell, like every time he opens a song, he plays like the first half and then the beat drop 3 times in a row without fail, and then like plays the rest of it, and I was like, oh, you're right, because that's exactly how grinding starts.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and that happens in a bunch of her songs in this album as well. Especially one called REM. So he handles, I would say, like 60% of it. And so she won a Grammy for it for Best Pop Album. He won a Grammy for it for Best Producer of the Year, which included like other songs, but a majority from this album. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite album by her, has my favorite songs by her. But dude, early on, there is this fucking song called Light Is Coming with Nicki Minaj. Mm-hmm. It's not because of Nicki, but it is the most aggravating beat ever. It is like the worst thing that you can expect from Pharrell. It's this. I found out where it comes from. It's this like council meeting where this guy goes, he wouldn't have let anybody speak, and he just repeats that again and again. So, but it's not like smooth like Otis, right? You know,
right.
Where when you repeat certain phrases.
Nah. Yeah, like that
exactly.
Goes so hard.
It's not chopped. It's just he literally took what a guy said and just repeats it over and over and over. And it's just it's I don't understand how Pharrell thought this was a good idea at all. I mean, Nicki has a okay verse and Ariana sounds great, but just dude, like every time it comes on, skip every single time. And it hasn't grown on me. Which I've
listened to the song for years. I've tried to like it. I've
tried to like it because there are songs where that has happened. There was a song on Rodeo by Travis Scott from 2015 with Kanye West called "Piss on Your Grave." Have you ever heard it?
I have not.
It's like it's very rock. It's pretty much a rock song. And when I first heard it, you just hear Kanye going "Piss on your grave," and I'm like, dude. When I first heard it, it was like skip this song every time. This song fucking sucks. I hate this song so much, dude. The rest of the album is great. The song sucks. But now I fucking love it. I think the album is better because of it. I think it sounds great. I think exactly what it's doing in terms of a rock song, I think it's perfect. It fits exactly where it needs to go. And I guess maybe I have time to go with this one, but every time, dude, I listen to Sweetener, I'm just like, the light is coming, and then there it goes, because I'm changing the shit so fast.
The light is coming, and it's gone.
Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend Sydney, she shares the exact same opinion, and I've talked to like 3 or 4 other people who love Sweetener who all say the same thing. I'm like, hey, light is coming, trash, right? And they're like, yeah, that song fucking sucks, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to this album. I'm gonna listen to this album. I don't even really like Ariana Grande's music. I'm gonna listen to this album just to see if that song is really as bad. I'm gonna like make sure my phone's face down so I don't know like when it's coming.
Oh, when it comes out? Here, I'm just gonna.
Hold on. All right, go ahead.
I gotta play it because it's just it makes it. The reason I also think it fits this list is because not only because, you know, it's a bad song, but because of how good the album is and the accolades that came with it. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like this turd right in the middle.
Right.
Okay, Pharrell, now. And it's just that. And it's that. And it's like, And then you just hear, we don't let anybody speak. I'm like, oh, Pharrell, what the fuck?
Got that shit the fuck off. Oh, God.
Yeah, so that's my number 2.
All right, so my number 2 is going to be a song that, let's see. Okay, so this one for me is another one where it's just kind of, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I just was like, it's such a departure from, I feel like, everything else I heard. And, like, every time I hear it, like, I feel like a dog that just, like, turns his head sideways. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's like, what the fuck? Why is this on here? And it's Get It from Finally Famous.
And isn't it also a Pharrell song? I
think so.
I'm like 80% sure Pharrell produced it. Dude, and it sucks, dude, because I love Pharrell. He's my favorite
so do
producer. I think, Kanye West is different because he is like the producer, rapper one, right? Pharrell, I like it because you can listen to somebody's album and you'll hit a Pharrell song and your mind goes Pharrell, right? Because he has such a distinct sound, but yeah, so this but 2 back-to-back songs.
Nah,
I'm gonna check. Go ahead.
Good, bro. No, I'm almost positive that's what it is. Yeah, I just, for whatever reason, like, the rest of this album's great. And, like, this song is just an instant, like, skip for me. And I don't know what it is. It's just, like, nothing in this song does it for me. It just, like, I might as well, and I'm looking through the lyrics right now, definitely a Donald Trump line. So
Donald Trump, that's what the DT, yeah, because you put Get It, and the title is Get It, parentheses, DT, parentheses.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's no good. So now I feel even better about hating this song, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's the Neptunes. They produced it.
What the fuck, man? It's terrible. But yeah, I 100% can just leave this song behind. There's no redeeming qualities for it. Like, I'm not like, well, at least, blah, blah. It's nothing. No. Just instant skip.
And I was talking to Sydney about it because it actually came up on Shuffle a couple weeks ago. And it's starting, and I skip it too. I share your opinion. And it's starting, and I'm like, oh, do you see what, you see the song title right there on the screen? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, you see, what the DT stands for? And she's like, no. And I'm like, it's Donald Trump. He says that. And she's like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, yeah, listen to it. He goes, getting Donald Trump money. And she's like, has that always been there? I'm like, yeah, that's been there since 2011.
Woo. Boy, that's our president. All right. So hopefully not much longer. All right. So what's your next song?
Yeah. My next one is the one that I think most people like. I just always skip it. And when I was coming up with this list, this one's probably the one that I probably would have taken off and just put Drunken Hot Girls, but I didn't want to do 2 from the same album. And it's Stop Trying to Be God from Astroworld by Travis Scott. And it's I think most people really like it. It's just the whole album comes to a fucking grinding halt right at track. I think it's like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I think it's got like a Stevie Wonder like harmonica bit, and it's like really slow. And I think if it was toward the end, it might fit a little better as it sort of wraps everything up. But putting it in the middle after, I think there's one called No Bystanders is right before it. And it was just like fucking just hype. The bass hits right in the last 40 seconds, right? And then you just go to this like slow harmonica song about, not trying to make yourself bigger than you are. And then it's I think it's got like a Charlie Wilson solo. And then the whole album just fucking grinds to a halt. But I think it's okay. I like it just okay, but I could totally just snip it, cut it right out.
Right. And like the thing is also no one's going to Travis Scott for that kind of song. Like no one's like, I want to hear like slow meandering, just kind of like chill song. Like I think I'm gonna listen to Travis Scott. That's not what you're going to Travis Scott for.
Or if you put it, at the end when he's like,
right,
all right, thank you everybody for coming out. Stop trying to be God. I hope you had fun at this concert tonight. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
exactly. All right. Yeah. No, I just like why throw that in the middle of the album? And that is one thing that I know we both mentioned a Kanye song so far, and he's gonna have an appearance still. But like that's one thing Kanye I feel like does an amazing job of. Like all of his shit is track listed so well in all of his albums. Like like it always seems to flow coherently from one to the end. Like there's never this random like this song doesn't fit here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even the songs I'm not crazy about, like Like, I'm trying to think, like, if I'm really being honest about, like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like, there's some songs I can take or leave, but they're all, like, near the very end of the album where I feel like, it's just kind of, like, winding down anyways. You know what I mean?
And I think we were talking about that as when we were that was the song that I was mentioning earlier about how we, he could have easily cut out, what's the song?
Hell of a Life.
Not Blame Game. Hell of a Life, yeah. Which is just, it's a perfectly fine song. I think Blame Game is a little bit more important to the story of the album. But Hell of a Life, he could have chopped that out, put in Christian Dior and Flow from Good Fridays, or my personal favorite, Looking for Trouble, or any of the other ones from that album. That I think about half of those free songs are better than
that Hell of a Life.
Hell of a Life, yeah. And I mean, and to entice the people a little bit, our 2-hour special is coming in a few weeks.
Fucking lootly. Ain't nobody gonna listen to that full thing. Everyone's gonna be like, God damn, they're still talking about this album.
They've already talked enough about this album.
Nah, never. There will never be enough talking about this album.
There's like that meme from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's like Terry Crews talking to I forget the old black actor, and he's like, "Sir, you've already told us the story," and the guy goes, "And you'll hear it again." That's how I feel about this fucking album. It's like, "Sir, we've already heard about this album." It's like, "And you're gonna fucking hear me talk about it for 2 hours."
That's 100% true, because it is legitimately, I would say, the best album I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah, it's still my favorite. I mean, after everything that's happened and everything that's gone, it's.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a few weeks. We'll have topics. We'll go song by song. Get ready. Don't say we didn't warn you when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what is your last song?
Okay, so my last song is a song off of At Long Last ASAP. So I feel like, if I remember correctly.
So is this the mixtape or is this the album? Because I always mix them up in terms of, like, because At Long Last ASAP and the other one's Live Long ASAP. And I always mix up.
The album is At Long Last ASAP, I believe. Okay. This one came after. Long Live ASAP was the first one. I remember, like, listening to ASAP Rocky's, like, a full project from him. But so if I remember correctly, Long Live ASAP came out. That's the one with Goldie. Fucking proud.
No. It's not Goldie. There's the other song that's really popular from it. It's fucking it, and I love it too because that's why I remember that album, because it's that 1-2 punch of Goldie and something else.
I know Wild for the Night's on there. That one's really solid. Oh boy, fucking let's look at this track list riveting contest podcast.
Wait, what the fuck is Goldie? Is Goldie not from the mixtape?
No, it's from a studio album.
I forgot. I mixed them up. One Train.
Oh yeah, One Train.
One Fucking Problem. You're right. It is Fucking Problem. Goldie is in that one. For some reason, I thought Goldie was on his mixtape. But anyway, sorry. Continue.
Okay, so At Long Last ASAP. I feel like there was a long gap between Long Live ASAP and At Long Last ASAP. So like everyone was super hyped when it started coming out. So the album starts. You got Holy Ghost, which is just like a little intro track, but still is great. Canal Street's great. Fine Wine's okay. LSD I usually skip. Excuse Me is really good. JD is a very short song that goes super hard. Lord Pretty Flacco Jody is also another one that goes super hard. Electric Body, which has my favorite
nuclear bomb.
Oh my god, it came turned out. That shit kills me every time.
And I think Schoolboy Q's voice is a better fit for that song than ASAP's. I think his voice is so good. It's a borderline like boozy sort of like kind of effeminate like snare on that beat. It sounds so good.
Yeah, it's so great. And then the next song comes on, track 9, Jukebox Joints. And I'm like, all right. And I see that it has Kanye West on it. And I'm like, oh boy. At the time, I'm super big into ASAP. Obviously love Kanye West because it's before he lost his fucking mind. And I'm like, this shit's going to be a banger. And so I turn it on. And I'm like, boy, this is really not fucking doing it for me. And like the whole time I listen to ASAP's verse, I'm like, this is not great. This is not my shit. I'm powering through it to listen to this Kanye verse that I'm 1,000% sure is going to go super hard. And so I'm listening to it. And I'm like, oh boy, Kanye's coming on. Hated the rest of the song, but this is where it's going to totally come back and redeem itself. And then he drops the worst verse of all time. My man is terrible on this song. I have no idea what the fuck happened. The penultimate where I was like, ugh, and like died, like my soul left my body while listening to this fucking verse. Is he says, hey bitch, you missed out. Hashtag FOMO. I got one child, but I'm fucking like I'm trying to make FOMO. And I was like, he says FOMO like 4 more, and the way he says like, FOMO, and I'm like, get out, bro. I'm so fucking done with this song, bro.
We should have seen the signs.
We should have.
It's like a school shooter. It's like he was, he was putting out shitty verses, and he was doing whoop-de scoops. And...
Oh, God. I still... Oh, God. The Poop-de Scoop song, I understand it's a joke, but I still feel like he thinks it's actually kind of great. That's my stance on that. But yeah, my man said hashtag FOMO. Oh, God, bro, get out of here.
Terrible. But Jesus. Yeah, so that's those are the songs that dampen an album, but maybe don't ruin it, but just sort of make you go like, ugh. Or at least make you click that skip button.
Let's put it this way. The album's good enough for us to remember the album, and the song is very obviously terrible enough that we were like, get that song out of here. Like when you put this topic on the thing, we all were like, fucking, hey, you were like Barry Bonds. We both were like drunken hot girls.
Yeah.
And then, you obviously were like, let's get this Ariana Grande song out of here.
So shitty.
So, like, they don't ruin the album, but for it to still, like, stick out, you know what I mean? It
means they do damage to it,
bad.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, God. All right, but yeah, so that's our music topic for the day. So your songs were Barry Bonds, Light Is Coming, featuring Nicki Minaj, and Stop Trying to Be God. And then mine were New Day, Get It, and Jukebox Joints, as much as we love Pharrell and Kanye, both of our lists feature healthy notes of both. I guess when you have that many bangers, you're going to fall short a couple times. That's all there is to it. So let's go to what we've been watching and or playing.
Yeah, so I finished, I think it was The Boys last week, so that's done. And I started The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, but I'm not far enough to sort of have a strong opinion about it. I'm still working through it. But what I did do is that I finished, finally, the video game, Batman Arkham Knight from 2015. It's the last installation of their Batman trilogy. And I finally finished it. And I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City years ago. Almost 10 years ago. I played both of them pretty much back to back. And then I never got a chance to play the 2015 one, the last Arkham Knight, until just now. And I really enjoyed it. It's pretty much the same game from before. Combat's a little better. You get the Batmobile in this one, which is awesome. I think it is probably my favorite Batmobile. Of anything, of a movie, of a TV show, just because I think it's the perfect mix of tank and like that sleek,
yeah, sports car kind of deal going.
Yeah, and so it looks heavy. It's like a fucking tank. I've killed people. I mean, there's no way I didn't kill people, blowing them up in their cars and shit.
No, you're Batman. You don't kill people.
Like when you hit them, you go in like 100 miles per hour, and you hit them with like. When you hit somebody, they just shocks them. I'm like, no, his insides are goo. Like, it's over. But I liked it. I mean, the story was great. I was compelled by it. Like, I liked it. The look is great. What I was just a little bit disappointed in is that it looks like they took a lot of detail in designing every single part of the city very specifically, so that it has a specific look. But I think because all of the game takes place at night and it's raining and all of Gotham looks the same, it all ends up kind of just mushing together. So when I'm in one island, I'm like, well, this one has like a little bit different lights than the other one, but overall it looks the same.
Right, you're getting the Zack Snyder special.
Yeah, exactly. And so I felt kind of bad because it's like they clearly put a lot of effort into every single little crevice in here, and I can't really appreciate it because it doesn't look that different. But I will say, after I finished it, I was fucking pissed because So for me, when I finish a video game, I always watch the credits. And it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of, for me, it's like a way to mentally go, that is over. No matter how long
Right.
the credits are, like GTA 5's took like fucking 20 minutes. I think The Last of Us 2's were like 15 minutes because they're just huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I always watch them because I like having it be over in my mind, especially
Right.
if it's an open world game because you could just go on forever.
Right.
And then for this one, the story ends, but for you to quote finish the game, you have to get all of these little Riddler trophies,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to beat his stupid races that are insanely difficult. And I fucking gave up after like an hour of trying them. And so I'm there, like the game ends, and he's like, "Good job, you saved the city, Batman." And he goes, "All right, I just need to do one more thing before I initiate Nightfall." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Fuck this! I'm not doing this. I give me the credits, asshole. Like I just let me be done with it."
Right.
Um, but it is a very enjoyable game. If you are not like me, where that bothers you, I definitely recommend it. I think I bought it for like $5 on the PlayStation Network. So I'm sure
Right.
it's that cheap, and it's awesome. Like I really enjoyed it. Um, yeah, it's like the best of that kind of like Spider-Man, Batman game you can get.
Right. I might have to check that out. I played like the Arkham Asylum was the first one, right? I
Yeah.
think I played it when it came out, and then didn't play any of the others. And I'm sure on PlayStation there's like a collection by now, so I
Yeah.
might have to check that out and actually play those.
Yeah,
Um,
and City was great. Like I remember playing City in 2011, or I think when it came out, and it was like I just remember spending hours and hours on it because it is, I think it's a little bit more open world than Arkham Asylum.
okay.
But in the story, like it's like you get to play against everybody. You fucking fight the Penguin, Doctor Freeze, the Joker. So like, or Mr. Freeze, you get Scarecrow, Clayface, the Joker, all of it. So it's a great story. I think in terms of being like a whoa, that was amazing. I think I was more blown away by that one then than this
Hmm.
one now, but it's still
Right.
pretty good.
Okay. I've been playing Shadow of War, which is a Lord of the Rings game. There
Hmm.
was Shadow of Mordor first, and
I
then
remember that one. I
Shadow of
never
War,
played
which
it, but
was
I
the
remember
sequel.
that one.
So it's got this really cool system in it called the Nemesis system, which is basically like it's in both of them, Mordor and War, and um, basically like there's an army of like obviously there's orcs everywhere. It's like the standard grunt enemy you kill is just like random orcs, but then there's like these captain orcs, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have like the overlord orcs, and so
Mm-hmm.
like every overlord has like three guards and then a bunch of captains underneath them. And so you can like each captain has special weaknesses, but like strengths, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you find like weak orcs that you can interrogate for info on them, and then you can like either dominate them or kill them, and like
Yep.
weaken the guards' defenses. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that's really cool is that like if you're just in a fight with a bunch of them and a random orc kills you, like
Yeah.
just a random one, he then gets promoted to captain, and it's like in your little menu you see it happen. You see this like random orc just got promoted to captain. They give him like whatever set of weaknesses and strengths, give them a name. You can, when you dominate them, they become yours, so you can like send them to spy on other guards. The people in the army themselves will, like, the captains will fight to prove themselves to try and move up. You know what I mean? Like, it's all this really cool stuff. It's like a living, breathing, army that like you are also having to deal with. It's a really cool, unique
That's
system.
pretty cool.
And they like some of the captains will have like one of the perks will be tracker, and
Mm-hmm.
like you'll just be walking around and all of a sudden one will show up where you're at, and it's like, oh, I was not prepared to do this. Like I was
That's
in the
pretty
middle of
cool.
something, I need to get the fuck out of here.
It's
So
like being like wanted in Red Dead or something.
right, it's kind of like that, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of intricacies in it. It's very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the case in both. And I beat Mordor forever ago when it came out, and War's been out for a very long time. And I started War like 4 times, and every time just like couldn't, like, just got bored with it, or something else very big came out. Like
Mm-hmm.
my problem is I'll start single player games, and
Mm-hmm.
then like a brand new like big multiplayer game will come out, and so it's like, oh, I'm gonna play with my friends on this, and then like by that amount of time that I'm like tired of that game, I'm not. I'm not into the single player experience that I was in before. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mentally there still. So like I end up dropping it and going back to something else. But for right now, I've been back into it. I've gotten further than I have in the past, so hopefully I'll eventually finish it. But so far it's been really good. There's not a whole lot of improvement over the first in my opinion. I think it's just bigger and there's more of it. But
Mm-hmm.
like the first was so solid that I don't feel bad about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you recommend the first one? Because I saw it, I think, on the PlayStation Store, and I was like, I should get that because I always heard great things. And anytime that a game gets re-released as like Game of the Year, I'm always like, oh, like it must have been pretty good. I should have checked it out. Would you recommend it, or do you think it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
I think it's very good. It's got a decent story. The newer one seems to have a worse story, so I don't really know what has happened. It's just like it's too open.
mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm done, but there's like way more left to do, so I don't really know where I'm missing it. You know what I mean? And
That's
there's no pinpoint like, hey, go here. Like I'm just like I don't really know what else I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's how I felt with God of War. I'm like, this thing is so big, I don't know what to do after I finish the story because it's like, I know there's like things to do, but I'm like,
But
do
the
I go
thing
to another
is
realm? Like,
right, but at least God of War the story is long. The part that it feels like the story so far in this game was
hmm?
extremely short and like an hour
Oh,
and a
okay.
half. And I feel like I'm done and like still have a bunch of shit to do in like whole areas I haven't visited yet. But like I don't see any obvious lane of where to go or how it ties in. And there are games like that, like Dark Souls is like famously just like open. Like you can go into an area you're not prepared to go into yet, clear it out, and like there's not really a story as much as there's a lot of lore. And
Mm-hmm.
through all the lore, you're supposed to kind of infer what your character is actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this isn't like that because there is story. Like Dark Souls doesn't have story, so you know going into it that you're taking the pieces of lore and making a story based on context clues, right?
Yeah.
This has like a CGI acted story and it's just super short and like now I'm not sure what to do anymore. So it's like it's kind of like the game is still great, but like that part of it just is kind of terrible. And I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here. So I'm gonna just keep playing it and eventually I'll figure it out. But the first one I do think is good. It has a lot of the same combat features as like the Arkham games do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll be okay. Um, as far as like being familiar with it, I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna be too weird to throw anybody. But it's definitely very good. If you could find it cheap, I would absolutely play it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want to check it out. Or at least Shadow of Mordor, because I was looking for like the best single player games of like the last decade, just like on lists, and that was one of them. And I was like, I think I saw that for like $5, but then I think I ended up getting something else. It might have been Uncharted 4 or maybe Arkham Knight that I ended up getting instead.
Right.
Um, yeah, actually started Rise of the Tomb Raider like a
Oh,
day or two
okay.
ago, but I'm like an hour in, so I don't really have a feel of if it's good or not, or if
Right.
I'm enjoying it too much.
Right. I got you. So that's what I've been playing.
Cool.
What I want to go over is what I've
Mm-hmm.
been watching, and I watched a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Hell yeah.
and
Sweet.
and as I said before, anime is always sad, and I literally cried at like a 5 minute fucking clip, and it was like in the middle of season two.
Was it
The
Tales from Ba Sing Se?
Yes, bro, and it was fucking Uncle Ero's part or
Yeah.
whatever. And bro, I legitimately cried like a bitch. I first of all, my man is being so nice the whole clip, and he's singing like this kid's crying, and he grabs a little guitar and sings like "Soldier Boy Come Home,"
Mm-hmm.
and at this point you've already learned, that his son had died in the war, and that's like what basically made him call off the siege of Ba Sing Se.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he sings this song "Soldier Boy Come Home" to cheer up the kid. And like it didn't click for me because I'm dumb. Because nothing in my head ever registers until it's blatantly forced in front of me. And so he does a couple things. He like goes and gets tea or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like this generic. Oh, he tells a thief that he's a bad thief, gives him pointers on being a good thief, and
Oh
then
yeah.
sits down and
Uh-huh.
has some tea with him. And like the guy's like, I don't think I'm gonna be a thief anymore. Um, and then he has his like picnic basket, all this stuff, and he's walking up to this random hill, like kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And instantly, before he even started like getting into it, like as he's walking up this hill, I was like, oh, this is about his son being dead. This is like his son's birthday or like the last time he died. And I was like, oh, the Soldier Boy Come Home song is
Mm-hmm.
about his son being dead and not coming home. This is, cried, dude, cried, tears. And I was just like, why has this got to be so fucking sad, bro?
Yeah. I mean, dude, that whole episode is probably top five.
Yeah,
Like, it's
then
so good.
fucking Momo, just a dumb little wind lemur, is like has the most depressing ending visual, which is him sitting in fucking what is clearly supposed to be Appa's footprint in the ground, just in the rain, just like laying down in it. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is depressing, bro.
And then Zuko, right? He meets that girl. He goes on the date, right? Is that the
I
same
think
episode?
I don't know if it is, but
Uh,
it's close.
I
It's
forget what
like right
Zuko
around the same
does.
time. Yeah,
But
I
I
can't
remember
remember his
liking
either.
his a lot too.
Right, his was good. Yeah, they were all good, and it's just like, but his was super fucking depressing. Like I said, I legitimately cried. Um, so yeah, there was that. But that brings me to my next topic, which
Mm.
is our best and worst voice acting.
Mm.
So I told you that my worst voice acting was going to be Surprise.
Yes.
Have you figured it out yet?
No. I was gonna say let's go through them, and then you can just be like, boom, like this is it, and I catch my
Okay.
reaction in real time.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So do you want me to start with my best ones, or do you want to start with your best ones?
I'll start so that you can
Hit
end
my
on yours.
surprise. Okay.
Yeah. So my criteria, or sort of kind of how I went going about these, is like somebody whose voice is very good,
Mm-hmm.
but it fits the character perfectly, almost to the
Right.
point where like if I see the if I hear the person now, all I can think about is the character because of how good they were as that role. And I think some
Right.
of that might be writing, but I do think a lot of that life is because their voice is very distinct, but it fits the character like a fucking glove. It's perfect.
Right.
So my first best one, we each have two bests or like our favorites, and then we each have one worst. Um, is Jason Lee as Syndrome in The Incredibles.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the villain, of course, if you've seen The
Yep.
Incredibles. And I think he has such a great like just asshole voice in this. And
Right.
I think he voices the character as a kid as well. I don't think they changed anything, or I think they might have pitched it up a little bit. But he sounds so good. And he's in his lines are he's such a great villain because he's such an asshole, but he sounds like I can't quite describe his voice. It's like like not nasally a little bit, but
It's a little like whiny, nasally,
whiny.
kind of like
Mm-hmm.
almost. Yeah.
I like Jason Lee's voice, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And like the thing is it's funny because I don't know why it never even occurred to me that that was Jason Lee. I never like really even like it was obviously a familiar voice, and then I
Mm-hmm.
saw when you put Jason Lee Syndrome, I was like, oh, that's totally Jason Lee. I don't know how the fuck I missed it,
Mm-hmm.
but like if anything, I feel like that's a testament to it being good voice acting. Like
Yes.
like there's two levels, so it's like there's like the Frozone thing, right? Where Samuel Jackson, you're just like, this is great because it's Samuel Jackson.
Yes, and
Like
right.
this,
Mm-hmm.
like it has nothing to do with the character. It has nothing to do with the writing. It's just like it's Samuel Jackson being Samuel Jackson, so it's hilarious. And then like, but then like I feel like it's a less. I think I think realistically it's just better, which is that like we may recognize the voice, but it's still profoundly this character. Like when you hear Frozone, you go, "This is Samuel Jackson." You don't
Yes.
say, "This is Frozone." When
Yes.
you hear Syndrome, you're like, "This is Syndrome," and then someone's like, "That's Jason Lee," and you're like, "Yeah, I know."
Oh
Like,
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I see. I that's why I love Pixar still is because they still go with unknowns, in their newer movies. Not always. I mean, they had
right,
Amy Poehler as in Inside Out, and she played like I think Hope or like Happiness or something.
right,
But that's like one of those where it's like, yeah, like when I think about Happy like Perky, I think about Leslie Knope. I think about Amy Poehler, right?
right,
So, but then they have like the people who are in Coco. I mean, not many of them. I mean, a couple of them are sort of well known, but most of them are relatively unknown.
yeah. I didn't know any of them off the top of my head, and that
Yeah,
movie's great.
and so I think they do such a great job of mixing both like Samuel Jackson in The Incredibles, but then also Craig T. Nelson, who people know. He's in that show Parenthood and stuff, but. I think they let it fit just enough where it's not overwhelming, but then not so random that they don't have a very distinct poppy voice.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And that
Yeah.
actually brings me to my best one, which is Tom Hanks as Woody. Tom Hanks is the most like I, I as a, maybe it's just because of the time, but like when I hear Woody, first of all, Tom Hanks' voice is extremely distinct, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
hear a
Mm-hmm.
voice, you're like, oh, that's Tom Hanks. But like the whole time in the movie, it just feels like Woody. You know what I mean? Like it fits so perfectly to me.
Yes.
It's like, and that whole movie seems to basically just be people whose voices are cast perfectly. I mean, like Buzz Lightyear kind of comes off as a dickhead at first, and that's why you got Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Um,
But see, and I think that's a testament to how good Tom Hanks is as an actor, as a voice actor, is that I mean, he's kind of a dickhead too, right? When he's super jealous of him early on.
right.
I think if that's not played correctly, I think you lose Woody immediately, and then when they get lost together, you're like, Buzz needs to get away from this guy. This guy's an asshole. He's a psycho. He's jealous. You know, he's
Right.
like fucking terrible. And I think that I've always read that was their hardest part of the story, I mean, other than the animation, was cracking Woody because for the longest time, he just came off as just a gigantic asshole.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. And you're even supposed to get that because the other toys think he's an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, Woody, why are you being such a grumpy grimp? And he makes no attempt to try to meet Buzz in the middle. And you just see him being just jealous, and then he tries to get him killed. Well,
Right.
toy killed.
Yeah, the toy kills. But yeah, Tom Hanks just nails it. It's like that one to me is like off the top of my head, like the first one where I'm like, if I go back, that's the first one where it's like, holy shit, to me, like in my head, that like they fucking nailed it,
Mm-hmm.
and there's
Yeah,
like
no, yeah,
no doubt.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and so my next one is another Brad Bird movie. It is Ratatouille, and it's Patton Oswalt as Remy. This is another one of my all-time favorite movies, and I think he fits the role perfectly. He has this warmth that I think fits exactly who Remy is. He's kind of stuck in between two worlds, and I think Patton gives him such weight where when he's having the arguments with his dad and then with himself well himself as Gusteau, that you sort of he never comes off as whiny for not wanting to pick one of the two sides, and I think he fits it perfectly, especially because as the movie goes on and we spend more time with Linguini, he gets fewer lines because he doesn't do that like talking animal thing, which I fucking love. I love that they didn't do that. Any other DreamWorks would have been like, well, they can talk to each other through magic or whatever. But I
Right.
love that he understands him, but he doesn't talk. He just hears the little squeaks, right? I love that, and I think like I said, any other lesser movie would have just had them talk to each other because why make it harder on yourself when you can just not?
Right.
Um,
Can
and
I let
yes,
you in on a secret?
yeah.
I've never seen Ratatouille.
Oh, dude, Ratatouille's amazing. It's so good. It's top five Pixar. It's hard to do a top five, especially with Toy Story. But like right now, today, like I'll do a quick top five. It's probably The Incredibles, um, Toy Story 2, Ratatouille, Up and Coco
Yep.
today. But yeah, so it's top five, and I think it's probably this and The Incredibles are like the two that will always be top five for me. Um,
Right.
especially the ending. Oh, the ending's so good. But anyway, so as the movie goes on, he has fewer lines because the movie switches from his perspective to a half and half perspective. The other
Right.
half being the human who's putting him in his hat to cook. So it makes the lines that he does have way more valuable, and he nails it. And Remy, they're all perfectly developed, and his voice is just perfect for that character.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Hmm.
I don't know if Patton Oswalt has done a whole lot of other voice acting, but to me, it fits. Like that seems like something he would do
Hmm.
and be good at. And I don't really know why I feel that way, but I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm not surprised, and I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, and it's definitely. I mean, it's pretty inspired casting too, because like if you think you're like, all right, we need a lead for a Pixar, $150 million Pixar movie. We'll get who's the biggest comedian of 2006? Let's get Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell will be you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
to be like, no, we need a voice that fits the story. I mean, it's a Pixar thing, but of course, but it's it's definitely commendable. And I mean, the guy who plays Linguini, who does like the number two. He's like the number two in the role. He's just like some random guy who works at Pixar. I think he does like story, or he done like some small side roles. So
Gotcha.
um, it just shows like they think about like what the character needs first rather than like DreamWorks. They just pick the biggest star that they can think of.
Yeah. So that's your second best one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So my second best one is I'm gonna go with Mark Hamill as the Joker. And to me, that's another one where it's like I up until very recently didn't realize that was Mark Hamill, and the moment I learned it was Mark Hamill, I was like, that's fucking great because that sounds like exactly what I imagined the Joker should sound like.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like if you showed me a comic and I had never heard what that character was going to sound like before, and then you played me like 3 audio clips and one of them was Mark Hamill's Joker, I'd probably be like, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is quintessentially like it's super high pitched and giddy and stupid, but like there's in the lines where he's doing something fucked up or like getting down to like what makes this a problem and not just like a joke. Like you can feel the like intensity, like you know what I mean. You can like there's a little bit of something underneath it, like the evil. You know what I mean? Like it's all laughing, but you have to like if you're gonna do a crazy laugh, you have to be able to sound like you're actually laughing while also sounding like this isn't normal to laugh at.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's a good in between. I think I agree completely. I think Heath Ledger is the closest one in terms of that laugh.
Right. But the
But
thing is, I think even in that universe, like the Joker never does like the Joker laugh. You know what I mean? Like Heath Ledger does have some of that, but it's never the like super high pitched, like almost like a witch's laugh. You know what I mean? Like it never gets there.
I think
like it gets the right feeling across, but like it doesn't sound like a clown laugh. You know what I mean? Like
I think he gets close one time in that movie,
right.
and it's when he's being interrogated and he punches him.
Yeah, you're right.
That's like the closest he comes. That's why when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh shit, that was like the Mark Hamill laugh." I literally remember thinking that. I'd been like, "Oh shit, that's like the Joker like animated series laugh."
Right.
Or I mean the video games. And speaking of
that's
Arkham
what I
Knight,
was about to say. That was not intended when I put this down, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, he does the voice in the Arkham games like very recently."
And
go ahead.
he didn't do Origins, and I thought that he had retired after Arkham City. And so when he shows up in this one, I think he's a figment of Batman's imagination the whole time. But when he shows up in this one, in the Arkham Knight, I was like, oh no, they're gonna get somebody shitty to replace him. And then after a couple of lines, I was like, oh shit, let me go to IMDb. I gotta make sure. I was like, oh shit, he's back. Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I don't know what it is, and also like Mark Hamill. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Mark Hamill to me seems like the most unlikely star. Period. Like I mean, like he doesn't fit. Like you would have never had me if I was in charge of casting. He would never have been Luke Skywalker. I don't know that after he was Luke Skywalker, I'd have been like, I need him as the Joker. Like, I don't know how it happened, but I feel like he's just great at it.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question to you. Do you mind being Avatar spoilers? How averse are you to them?
Avatar, the show I'm watching?
Yeah. Not a spoiler, but maybe like a surprise.
Okay, that doesn't bother me as long as it's not gonna like actually tell me anything about the end of the show. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You know the Fire Lord?
Yeah.
Voiced by Mark Hamill.
What? He's only said like 2 lines so far in this show, I think, and I didn't even notice it was him.
I don't think it was him early on, but then by the time that they get to the culmination,
he's showing up more often and not just like
and you hear it and you're like, dude, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, did they get my? Oh my god, shit, yeah, let's go. So get excited because I think it's not the Joker voice, but you can tell when it's Mark Hamill,
right?
But yes, I completely agree. Joker, yes, totally, especially in the games.
And that's another one. It's just like he is obviously doing the Joker, but like you hear him and you're just like, no, this is the Joker. This is actually the Joker talking. This isn't like Samuel L. Jackson because it's funny or Amy Poehler because she's happy. Yeah. But like this is actually the Joker.
And this is another example of what we were talking about before, where somebody does so well in a role that they'll put them in other stuff, even if the universe isn't connected from before, right?
I didn't realize that the animated series was only from like 92 to 95. It was like a 3-year span, is what I saw. And then they brought him back in like '09 for a video game for Joker. They're like, no,
they're just like, I mean, like, they're like, and I think Batman too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Kevin Conroy, I think, and dude, his Batman voice is fucking perfect. He's the perfect Batman voice. So they're perfect together. Well, I think in Arkham Knight he does sound a little old in some parts. I'm like, this sounds like an old man. But in Arkham City, perfect. But I agree. Yeah. So they were like, well, who can we bring in to voice Joker? They're like, we can literally only bring in one person. Like, let's just go ahead and do it. It's like, JJ Jameson or J.K. Simmons as JJ Jameson.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, who are we going to bring in for this in Spider-Man? And it's like, well, why did you even ask this question?
Exactly.
It's like everyone flip your index card and they all say Mark Hamill or they all say J.K. Simmons. Like, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
So those were my two best ones, and your two best were Jason Lee and Patton Oswalt.
Yep.
Okay. So, what is your worst one?
My worst one isn't one that sounds bad or is just a bad performance. It is the opposite of being immersed. It is the opposite
yes.
of being able to chameleon yourself into the story and have your voice fit the story perfectly. And it is Will Smith as Oscar the Fish in Shark Tale. It is Will Smith the whole time. When he's talking and he's doing his little fish puns, I'm like, that is Will Smith. There is no way around it. It's just like all his mannerisms are all the same. And Shark Tale's okay. Like, it is just perfectly fine. Like, it's not good. It's not bad. It's just, it is fine. I think it's like a gay allegory because he doesn't want to eat meat or something. The whale or the shark. And then Robert De Niro plays like the fish gangster, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's just Will Smith, like, and he gives it his all. He's in there 100%. But the whole time I'm like, oh look, it's Will Smith swimming.
Right.
It's Will Smith doing fish shit.
You know what's funny is that now that you say that, when I saw you put that on the list, I was like, I've only seen that movie like once or twice, because to me that's definitely not a movie that's worth going back and rewatching.
It's not.
But I was like, I don't remember him being terrible. But then you opened with like, it's not terrible. He's trying. It's not the worst. It's just definitely Will Smith underwater.
Right. Like, it is just like they dude, there's no way that the story wasn't like, oh, dude, they're coming out with Finding Nemo. Oh, let's just get Will Smith. Yeah. And then we'll shape the story around him being the main fish.
Right. Yeah. Surely his on-screen charisma will translate. So yeah, that's a good point. Like, his isn't terrible, but it's 100% just Will Smith.
Yeah, and because I think in like a performance in a movie, if there's a bad performance, you don't kind of notice until the end, right? Or like before, by then it's too late. You're already too deep. Mm-hmm. But with a voice actor, you can replace them. I mean, it is harder because they usually do the voices first and then animate them. Right. But you can get somebody to sort of come in and dub it. And it might not fit perfectly.
Patchwork it in. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yes, where I was going with that is that it's hard to get a bad performance animated wise. So that's why I picked this one, because I was like, well, it's not a bad performance. It's just one that doesn't fit a story. It's just, here's Will Smith.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's a good one. You said it was hard to find a bad like animated performance, right?
Oh yes, yeah. Let's hear it. Yeah.
Well, I'm bringing you mine. Do you have any guesses yet?
No.
Okay, so I've already talked about this character on the podcast, and he was gone in an episode, and then they brought this dickhead back. They fucking brought him back. I was so mad. It is Crawford Wilson, whoever the fuck that is, the guy that voices Jet in Avatar, bro. They brought him back. I was so mad. The only thing I had to say about that episode when I watched it was that Jet talks like this, and he's trying to be cool, and he actually just sounds like he should be dead. And like, he never inflects his voice at all. Bro, it was, and then I saw him pop up on the screen again. I was like, I know you didn't bring this asshole back.
And then, dude, when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah. Yeah, Jed. Yeah,
He's terrible. It's a good thing he's only in this one episode.
Yeah.
What's funny is I will say that like in the second season when he reappears,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this dude has gotten better at voice acting by the time this rolled around. He's not nearly as bad, and I think it's because he's not trying to be a cool guy anymore.
Right.
I think that's the epitome of what failed him. And the thing is, I've heard people do a cool guy voice, and this wasn't even that. Like, it wasn't that he sounded like a dickhead because he was trying to be cool, because that would have fit the character. My man just put no effort into it. He just read his lines, square off the paper, bro, and it was the worst. And then he popped up again, and I was so fucking mad about it, bro. I was like, I swear to God, why? Why did you bring him back? Like, and that's when we finished. We're like hitting these episodes kind of close together because we ended up missing a recording, and so we're just trying to get back up to where we were at. And you were like, I was like, I'll pick up a topic. I usually don't pick the topics, you do, and I just kind of wing it along. And I do all the back end stuff. But like, I was like, I'm going to pick a topic this time because we're on a short week. I'm going to try and help. And the very right after we said that, after we recorded the last one, I went and watched an episode of Avatar, and it was the first episode this dickhead came back in, and I was like, we're talking about voice acting.
You're like, I need to come up with a topic that allows me to curve back into Jet hate.
I was so mad. Oh, God. Like I said, he definitely picked it up. He's not trying to be a cool guy at this point. So I think maybe that's what he failed at. You know what I mean? Maybe he thought it was coming across as cool, and it was just super, just fucking boring, drab garbage. And now he didn't have to do that, so it just came across better. And ultimately, I believe I'm done with his arc. Spoiler alert, I think he's dead underneath Ba Sing Se. But that's where I'm at, and like, it was fine. I wasn't upset he was in there. But I swear to God, the first moment I saw him pop up on screen, dude, like, I was ready. And him and Zuko start hanging out for like one half of an episode. And I was like, I swear to God, if this dude's around all the time, I'm going to freak the fuck out. He becomes a cast
regular.
I'm going to stop watching this show. But yeah, no. But everything's good. I think he's dead. He didn't harm the show anymore. The show was like, you can't hurt me anymore, Jet.
You can't hurt me anymore. It's over now.
But yeah, that was my worst voice acting. I was so mad when he popped up on screen, and I was so happy because I was like, I have my topic. I contributed. But yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, like, fuck you, Jet. May he rest in piss.
He died. I was like, I'm glad he's dead. It's supposed to be emotional. I'm over here fucking just fist pumping, doing the wave solo in my bedroom in front of the TV. Woo!
It's like that clip of the old black lady in the wheelchair. They're interviewing her for like some news story, and she's like, "Am I supposed to feel sorry for that bitch? Because I don't."
Exactly. Oh God. But yeah, so that was my worst. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is the familiar criminal strikes again, possibly.
He's back.
Yeah, so apparently there has been another jetpack guy at LAX flying around at the airport.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, we talked about a guy who was seen, I think a flight was taken off for landing, and he was seen at the distance just flying in a jetpack at LAX. And we talked about, whether we would want a jetpack, like what that would mean. And so it was kind of like just a one-off story to talk about jetpacks in general. But this, this week there was news reports. There was another one that came out. Apparently, China Airlines crew reported seeing what appeared to be someone in a jetpack at an approximate altitude of 6,000 feet.
About 6 miles feet is so insanely high to trust a fucking jetpack, bro.
Jetpack, dude. It's not known technology unless it's a time traveler. Like,
fuck that, bro. It doesn't matter. They said, it said that the aircraft crew said the man was approximately 30 yards away from the plane. Not far enough, bro. You're in a jetpack at 6,000 feet. What the fuck are you doing within 30 yards of a fucking airplane, bro? Get out of here. What are you doing?
It's like what we mentioned before. Like, dude, you have the whole world to fly. You're flying next to where the technology is to find you.
This is the one place in the world where they see everything that's in the sky. They see
everything in the air.
Like, this is where I'm going to be.
Exactly.
Also, the most traffic. This is the most dangerous it can get, bro.
Exactly.
There's planes and shit everywhere.
You're not at PTI in Greensboro, man. You're at fucking LA.
Oh, God. How much would... Is there any amount of money that would be like, you have to go 6,000 feet in the sky within 30 yards of an airplane and a jetpack? This is the amount of money you get.
He must have lost his fantasy football.
Yeah, that's the punishment. Flying a jetpack, get hit by a plane.
Commit a federal crime. Oh, man. And then first place gets like $100.
Yeah. Oh, God. I didn't know jetpacks were that advanced. To be 6,000 feet in the air at LAX.
I really don't think that's why it's so interesting that I don't think that's why it's so interesting, because I think if it was like, oh, we see a drone, then you're like, okay, some assholes flying a drone, because those are pretty widely available.
Right.
But I don't know if jetpacks are available like that. And if they are,
are they that good?
Is he trying to pull like a Joker here where he's trying to get caught? Like, like what is... It might not even be the same guy. Maybe it's time traveler warning us about, November 3rd. Like, what is this?
That's a shitty way to remind someone. Just like, I'm from the future after warning them, but you just fly up in LAX.
Just super close to LAX.
You just fly within 30 yards of a plane. You're like, hey! And you just drop back down. Oh, God. Yo, about 10 minutes later, another plane spotted him, and now the FBI is investigating. Jesus Christ. Whew.
The FBI shows that
after the plane... Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have the suit in your living room, and they're like, what's that, sir?
Nothing. After the plane acknowledged the instruction, the controller concluded with, only in LA. What the fuck does that mean, bro? What do you mean, only in LA? Dude, only nowhere. There's nowhere where people on fucking jetpacks should be flying around.
That classic LA story, model, actor, jetpack enthusiast. It's all there.
This is checking all the boxes for my LA story. Hollywood, a dude gets hit at 6,000 feet by an airplane while he's on a fucking jetpack. It's like, no, I don't, Hollywood. This sounds like it's from a fucking movie.
That's just a Tuesday, man. What? It's LA.
Oh, God. All right, well, yeah, that's going to be the episode for this week. If you want to catch me on social media, you can catch me at TMoneybags on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm at Evercastro92 on Instagram.
And if you want to catch the podcast directly, it's at Diff Animals Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or you can email us directly at differentanimalspodcast@gmail.com. Stay safe, stay entertained, and we will catch you guys next week.
See you guys.
Peace. Oh.
Yep.
So for my Kanye quote, since this is episode 24, my Kanye quote is just going to be trying to get that Kobe number 1 over Jordan.
Are you sure you don't want to make it the FOMO line? FOMO!
Finished episode 20 now. I'm fucking like I'm trying to get FOMO.